Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I've got another Master Duel video for you. So we're going to come back to pure Spright again, but I've actually changed up the build. This is actually a fairly different build from the last one I showed. Last time I showed off a Diva Baron build, but this time we're going to be using pure Spright again, so it's still mostly the same principle, but I'm using a different supplementary level 2 engine. We are, of course, still playing the Frog, Swap Frog, and Ronintoadin. This is pretty unquestionably like the best level 2 engine you can have, but the next one you could play Deep Sea Divas, you could play Nimble Beavers, or you could also play Dharc Beckoning Beasts. So for those not familiar with Dharc Beckoning Beasts, it's a level 2 monster, so you know, of course, Sprite's ears immediately perk up when you see this. And when it's normal summon, you get to add one of the Sacred Beasts, which is Uriah, Haman, or Raviel. We're not adding those though, because you can also add a card that specifically lists one of those cards in your text. Another thing this card can do is you get an extra normal summon for a Fiend with 0 attack and defense. So the spell that you're going to be adding off of the Dharc Beckoning Beast is going to be Opening of the Spirit Gates. So when this is activated, much like the Dharc Beckoning Beast, you get to add one of the Sacred Beasts, which we're not going to do. We're instead going to activate a monster that specifically lists those cards in its text, which is going to be yet another copy of Dharc Beckoning Beast. So you can see how we establish the 2 level 2 monsters on board with this line. We normal summon a Dharc Beckoning Beast, we activate Opening of the Spirit Gates, activate it to add another Beckoning Beast, and then we get an extra normal summon for another beast. So what does this engine provide that others don't, is probably what you're asking. There's a few different things and a few different reasons why I really like this engine, actually, and I think I might even like it more than Diva or Beaver. This is definitely the one I'm a little bit more inclined to in pure Spright. So a couple of reasons for that. One of the main ones is actually that it's a lot less bricky than the other engines. So the other engines, you know, you're running Deep Sea Diva plus a monster to search off it. It's usually Yamatako or Orochi, so you can make Baron, but some people just use another random level 2 Sea Serpent. And then for the Nimble engine, you've got the 3 Nimble Beaver and then also the Angler. Even the Frog engine, you've got 3 Swap Frog and 1 Ronintoadin. There's kind of this recurring theme of like 3 of the level 2 you really want to open and then 1 of the one you don't, because it's just kind of a brick. In this case, however, Opening of the Spirit Gates is less of a brick than Yamatako Orochi or Nimble Angler would be, because you can at the very least still activate this and then add a Dharc Beckoning Beast. So you do still get to at least have a level 2 monster, which Yamatako Orochi is level 1, so that's kind of the drawback of playing that, is that if you open it, it's really, really bad. Now, you might be wondering, well, okay, but if you are playing the Nimble engine, you open Angler, that's a level 2, so it's not any different, right? Well, another reason that Opening the Spirit Gates is actually less bricky than the other engines is that it's got a second effect. Once per turn, you can discard a card and then bring back a level 1 Fiend monster, or not a level 1, sorry, 1 Fiend monster with 0 attack or defense for your graveyard. That's going to be the Dharc Beckoning Beast. So this card actually acts as an additional extender. If you want to discard a card and get another level 2 monster in play, you can do that. And there's a lot of hands where you can do that as a bit of a win more thing, or if you get disrupted, you can do that and potentially still have plays. Another neat thing about this, it's a slight benefit, is the fact that it's an extra normal summon. So if you're under Maxx C, that's 1 less draw for your opponent's Maxx C. Not going to come up super often, but it's a little bit relevant. One of the other more relevant minor perks of playing Dharc Beckoning Beast is that it's a dark monster, which makes ending on number 65 Djinn Buster a lot easier. Normally, if you want to end on this card on turn 1, you have to like go out of your way to make sure you're not using blue and or jet as the materials, and it's kind of annoying, honestly. But you know, with this deck, again, we've got the Dharc Beckoning Beast, and we can also, again, bring it back with the Opening of the Spirit Gates, so that makes number 65 Djinn Buster a lot easier to make, which is an extra monster negate, not just on the board, but anywhere. It's just when a monster, an effect of an opponent's monster is activated. Alright, what else are we doing different here? I was actually testing Daigusto Phoenix in the extra build a little bit. The extra deck in my initial build, which is another OTK option you can do instead of Cat Shark. The idea with that is you would use Daigusto Phoenix with Spright Pixies. You attack a big monster with the Daigusto Phoenix, you Pixies it. It can not only run over the big monster, but then attack a second time due to its own effect and swing in for a lot of damage. But it's not that the Daigusto Phoenix was bad. I think the Cat Shark is just a little bit more consistent. The Daigusto Phoenix OTK kind of relies on your opponent having a monster to make your Dagusto Phoenix big with the Pixies, but Cat Shark OTK you can just do into an open board. So I slightly prefer it for that reason, but I don't think Dagusto Phoenix is like significantly worse or anything like that. What else are we doing here? Oh, we've of course got the triple tactics talent. Last time in Pure I was only playing 2, but yeah, this card has just been bonkers for me. This whole few days so far that this archetype's been out, Spright, and we're gonna see some games here where triple tactics talent is like ridiculous. Also on triple Imperm still, and the 1 Veiler. We maxed out on Imperm first because of triple tactics talent. We're on a couple of ghost spells. I'm still like the Veiler and the 2 ghost spells. I'm kind of like not meh on. I mean, they're fine disruption, but these are definitely the most flexible open tech spots for me personally in this current build. So these are kind of like I could see maybe different stuff being here. If you wanted to play 3 Dark Ruler No More, you could definitely drop the Veilers and the Veiler and the Ghost spells for 3 Dark Ruler No More. And I have thought about doing that, but I don't know. My issue with that is that Dark Ruler No More feels really, really bad going second, or going first rather. Like going second, it's great for breaking Spright boards, because Spright kind of, especially Pure Spright, kind of plays very face up, right? And what I mean by that is that their turn 1 end board, all of their responses are like already on the field. So if you just slam down a Dark Ruler No More, they're really not going to be able to do anything. But I don't know, my whole thing is like, again, it just feels bad opening that card going first. And on top of that, Rubiks Sprite, like, yeah, you can shut down their Spright board, but Rubiks Sprite is very popular, and Rubiks Sprites can definitely still make plays under Dark Ruler No More with the Runic cards, so, I don't know. I'm not opposed to Dark Ruler No More, but I don't currently have it in my main deck. Alright, I think that's about everything I wanted to cover. Oh, we're not playing Appaloosa anymore. Instead of our IP targets, we got Knightmare Unicorn and Mekk-Knight Crusadia Avermax. Yeah, Appaloosa is like, I don't know, against Spright, it's kind of often that those 2 monster negates aren't enough, or they can, like, you'll do 1 monster negate, 1 or 2, Appaloosa will go down to 800 attack, they'll go to battle phase, run over it, and then just do their plays main phase 2. I've actually done that to people as well, more than once. So Appaloosa, it feels kind of mid right now. Knightmare Unicorn, on the other hand, this is great for spinning away a level 2 monster on your opponent's field and stopping them from being able to special summon their sprites. And, I mean, Mekk-Knight Crusadia Avermax with IP under it, I feel like we've all been hit with this at some point or another, so you probably understand just how difficult that can be to out. Alright, that's about everything I wanted to say as far as our current build here. Oh, at the time I'm recording this, it's actually before week 3 of the MCS. By the time this is going up, it's going to be after. I'm thinking right now I'm probably just going to take this, or like this with a couple of changes to the tournament. We'll see. But this is kind of what I'm thinking of playing with this week, is Pure Spright featuring the Dharc Beckoning Beast package. So let's break this list down card by card as we always do, and then we'll take a look at some gameplay. We're playing 1 Effect Veiler, 3 Swap Frog, 1 Ronintoadin, 3 Maxx, 3 Dharc Beckoning Beast, 3 Spright Blue, 3 Spright Jet, 1 Spright Pixies, 1 Spright Red, 1 Spright Carrot, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 2 Ghost Spell and Haunted Mansion, 1 Nibiru the Primal Being, 1 Harpie's Feather Duster, 3 Triple Tactics Talent, 1 Opening of the Spirit Gates, 2 Called by the Grave, 1 Crossout Designator, 2 Spright Starter, 1 Spright Smashers, 3 Infinite Impermanence. That'll round out the main deck. Extra deck will be 1 number 65 Djinn Buster, 1 Sky Cavalry Centurea, 1 Cat Shark, 1 Onibimaru Soul Sweeper, 2 Gigatic Spright, 1 Downerd Magician, 1 Divine Arsenal, AA-ZEUS Sky Thunder, 1 Salamangreat Almiraj, 1 IP Masquerena, 1 Dharc the Dark Charmer Gloomy, 2 Spright Elf, 1 Knightmare Unicorn, and then finally 1 Mekk-Knight Crusadia Avermax. There is the list. Let's take a look at some games. So for our first duel, I'm going to show you a match against Rubiks Sprite, which so far is shaping up to be probably right alongside Pure, the best Spright variant. I've said this before in other videos, but at this current point in time, my thought process on the age-old question, the rapidly becoming an age-old question, because I've seen and been directly asked this like probably at least 24 times in the last 3 days. What is the best Spright variant? What is the best Spright variant? What is the best Spright variant? I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think Pure and Runic are about tied for first. Runic might be a hairline stronger, but it is barely stronger if it is. I think Live Twin Spright is just under those two, but not too much weaker. And Tri-Spright I do think is significantly weaker than the rest. Anyway, I'm going to start with my Dark Beckoning Beast here. Going to add the opening of the Spirit Gates. Before I normal summon the other Beckoning Beasts, I'm going to go ahead and throw out the Spright Jet. It doesn't really matter to do it in that order, but I like to do it while the level 2 monsters on the board just establish your Spright monster. But of course, we want to make sure Gigantic Spright is still summon 4. That way, Gigantic Spright's 5th summon will also make it so our opponent can't Nibiru us. I'm going to get a red out of the deck with Gigantic Spright just because I can, starters for blue, and then I can blue for carrot. But before I do that, I'm going to special summon my Swap Frog. This is like the We Had It All hand. And actually, with this hand, now that I think about it, I really should have actually specialed a Maxx instead of Spright Red. Yeah, why didn't I do that? Because then I could have just added the red off the blue, special the Swap Frog bounced the Maxx back to my hand. So that's actually a minor misplay on my part. I could have had Maxx in this hand as well. But instead I have a Spright Carrot negation, which obviously the Maxx is much better than a Spell Trap negation, but... Although, I guess, not that I of course knew this going into this game, but against Rubiks Sprite, I think the Carrot negation might actually be better in a lot of situations than the Maxx. But anyway, this is a pretty standard turn 1 board when you've got the Dark Beckoning Beast access. The Djinn Buster can be made a lot more consistently. So, very nice opening turn. We have multiple negations, and we definitely like to see that. But it's going to start with a Flashing Fire during the draw phase on our Spright Elf. That's going to deny us the summon with it on the main phase, which is... it's fine, honestly. It's not that big of a deal. Alright, so we're going to start by normal summoning Wind Up Kitten. I definitely don't want them to, 1, have a level 2 monster, or 2, bounce one of my monsters, so... we'll start off with an easy IP Masquerena into Knightmare Unicorn here. I'll throw out this Ghost Spell just to get rid of the Wind Up Kitten, that's fine. Also, the fact that they're on Wind Up Kitten is pretty much confirmation that they are on Spright Runic specifically. You can play Aparia, Wind Up Kitten, and Capshell in other Spright decks if you really want to, but they're just not as good. Like, if you're playing Pure Spright, then you really just want, like, the Swap Frog and then the additional, like, multiple level 2s engine. So yeah, they're on Runic Fountain. No surprise to me here. Tempted to start singing No Surprises by Radiohead, but that's just the Radiohead fan of me. Anyway, yeah, my opponent's going to get a Fountain effect here. And I'm actually going to let that resolve as well as the Hugin. Well, I mean, I can't do anything about the Fountain, but the Hugin's fine. I don't care if they add another Fountain. They've already gotten draws off of it. I'd much rather save my negates for Spright monsters. This felt like a bait to me, too. The fact that they already had a Fountain and chose to activate Hugin anyway very much felt like a bait. And let's say they didn't have a Spright monster, and they did actually have just more Runic cards, and they got, they played the second Fountain, they got more draws. I still don't want to gate in that situation because, like, the thing I'm scared of them drawing in that situation is more Spright monsters. I'd rather just save the negates for the Spright monsters. So I'm actually going to start with the Djinn Buster negate on the Spright Blue, and the order I'm doing this actually matters. The reason is that I know my opponent's going to go into Gigantic Spright next, and I can use red to sack the Djinn Buster to both negate and destroy it. Because Djinn Buster is a rank 2 monster, I have the option to destroy the card as well with Spright Red. So I wanted to make sure I use the Djinn Buster as a negate before I just sack it off. So I do want a Djinn Buster, specifically Djinn Buster on blue here. And then, yeah, now my opponent's going to overlay into the Gigantic Spright. That's totally fine. I don't care. Because once they activate, yeah, I'm just going to activate Spright Red, sack off the Buster, and blow up their Gigantic Spright, on top of negating it as well. So, yeah, now they have... I actually had a Gigantic... or not Gigantic Spright, a Spright Starter, which is really unlucky for me. I was about to say, like, yeah, now they have Fountain in their hand and 2 unknowns, but... unfortunately, like I said, one of those unknowns is going to be Spright Starter. They can really only get Jet for Smashers, but, I mean, I am still going to have to play around the Smashers here. Oh, I'm not going to, actually, because they're just going to use it now. So, that actually was not, like, the best play, in my opinion. I get why my opponent used the Smashers there, because they wanted me to not have a level 2 monster, and of course... if you don't have access to 2 level 2 monsters, then you can't really do plays as Sprights, but I actually already have access to level 2 monsters, because if you look at my graveyard, I've got Swap Frog, plus Ronintoadin. And I still have my opening of the Spirit Gates on the field. So, yes, I drew Jet, so it actually didn't matter. But this could have been literally any card. It does not matter what I draw here, because I can still go opening the Spirit Gates, discard my draw for the Dark Beckoning Beast, and then Ronintoadin, banish a Swap Frog. Boom, I have 2 level 2 monsters I have placed. That's like I said, one of the reasons I really like this engine is because it not only offers you 2 level 2 monsters, but so many more extensions after that. But like I said, it actually doesn't matter here because the card I drew was Spright Jet, so... here my opponent's going to fire off a Maxx in response to the Ronintoadin. So obviously they get this draw here. And I'm just going to special summon the Jet and get my starters. I'm just going to go for the OTK, honestly, here. I'm just going to say, screw it. Let's just go for it. I'm not even going to really bother playing into Gigantic Spright first because I know because they're on Rubiks Sprite, there's no way they have an Nibiru in their deck. I do have to be mindful of these Runic cards, however. Runic cards could potentially very easily mess my day up. And my opponent is going to get to find them off of the Maxx. Now, they've already used Freezing Curses. The other one I'm mainly concerned about here is the Flashing Fire, destroy a special summoned monster. But as you can see, I managed to get my Carrot online, so now I'm not really fearing the Freezing or the Flashing Fire here. Yeah, like I said, they already Freezing Cursed, so I don't think there's a whole lot they can, like, super do to me here. What they can do is stop me from going for lethal this turn, though, by using their Runic cards to special summon chump blockers. So I'm going to start with a Jet attack here, and then I'm going to go for a Carrot attack. They're going to use this to try to make it so my Gigantic Spright can't attack. I'll use Carrot to sack the Jet, which already battled, to negate the Runic Slumber, but this is going a little bit too well. I'm thinking, like, they probably just have the body here. I actually shouldn't have attacked the Gigantic Spright next, although I don't think it really mattered. Because, like, they're just going to block that Gigantic Spright attack every time anyway. Like, even if I had gone Pixies and then Knightmare Unicorn and then Gigantic Spright, like, yeah, they're still going to block the Gigantic Spright attack, so... Now, this looks kind of bad. I mean, this might look pretty bad. Like, I have to pass back to my opponent when they have, like, a ton of cards in hand, but... Weirdly, this is going to sound super odd, but I'm actually not super concerned because it's Runic Sprite. I know I get to live through this turn. They're not going to kill me this turn. And I think I have a hell of a retaliation play. I think my opponent realized that as well. Especially this Fountain Draw, like I could pretty easily like negate it off the Carrot here. But that game was like not as secured for my opponent as it looked there. That's kind of the interesting thing about Runic Sprite, which I know people are going to be like, how is Runic Sprite interesting? But it's interesting in the dynamics that it affords, right? Not only in the way that it plays, where its win con is just making it so your opponent doesn't have a win con, but Runic Sprite can be in a very advantageous situation, but if it does not have, like, really a win con, or if it can't stop the opponent's win con, which I don't really know if they could there, then, like, yeah, then they just don't really have much. Like, I still have the Ronin, I believe, live in the graveyard as well. That might have actually been an early concede for my opponent, now that I think about it. Just because they had so much advantage, I don't know. But either way, we'll take a win. So let's take a look at the next duel here. Alright, for our next duel, we have yet another one against Runic Sprite. I was trying to figure out how I feel about this matchup, like, between Pure and Runic when they're facing each other. I mean, which one is favored, I think is just largely going to depend on the hands, really. It feels kind of even, but I could be wrong. Alright, so I'm just going to normal and then special the other Jet here. Start off with pretty standard plays, going for Gigantic Spright. Doing this now to play around the potential Nibiru. Post got an Ash Blossom. That's fine, because I have the Crossout Designator here. I was going to say it's fine because I have Spright Starter, but either way. It's actually also fine because I have Triple Tactics Talent in my hand. This is going to be a duel where we get to get really, really good mileage out of Triple Tactics Talent. Because I'm going to use it to, I believe, rip a card out of my opponent's hand here. Yep, I get to look at their hand and then shuffle a card back. So, looking at my opponent's hand, I mean, you can already see the game told you I end up picking a Spright Starter. But yeah, they've got Jet, Ash Blossom, and Smashers. So I'm like, alright, I'll just send back the starter. Now they have to top deck a level 2 monster in order to have plays. And this is just one of many, many reasons why Triple Tactics Talent is so good. Oh, Just like the ability to, because not only do I deny them the Spright Starter and deny their plays greatly by doing that, now I have the information of knowing they have a second Ash Blossom. So now that I can, like, you know, I've got this Maxx in my hand. So yeah, we definitely like knowing that it's gonna get Ash there, but that probably won't stop me from activating it, because like I'd rather just get the Ash Blossom out of the way, honestly. And then other than that, we're just making turn 1 plays. And not only that, but we can also just negate it with Spright Red, which I'm pretty sure is what I end up doing. You could make an argument that I might want to save the material for IP here, but I guess I don't have a card to discard with Knightmare Unicorn if I do it this way. That is actually an argument to not Maxx during the draw phase, to be fair. Like, if my opponent had drawn the level 2, I could have just gone to Knightmare Unicorn, discarded Maxx and put the other monster back. Although then they just use Spright Smashers, so it's like, eh. I'll just do it this way. I think it's fine. Yeah, they're just going to concede here, because, like, I get a search off of blue for more plays. Like, I obviously have a lot of stuff on board. This will make the Knightmare Unicorn live, so if my opponent hadn't conceded there, then what I would have done is at the end of the chain link upon resolution, I would have activated IP's effect. I could have anyway. I guess I might have thought about it a little bit, but I could have activated the IP's effect, and then boom, boom, gone the Knightmare Unicorn, put the Jet back. Although that would have been a little risky if they had just hard to draw on the Spright Starters again, so would have required a little bit more thought, but Triple Tactics Talent made it so we did not have to think very much by just getting rid of their plays. They're such a good card. Oh my god, I cannot sing his praises enough, but we definitely have a couple more games to take a look at. Let's just dive straight into the next one. Up against Pure Spright, so a mirror match for this one. Opponent's on Droplets. I'm not a huge fan of Droplet in this deck, honestly. You really don't have that many extra resources to spare for it. I think if you're going to play a board breaker like that, it should probably just be Dark Ruler no more. Which, you know, even that I'm like a little bit dubious on, honestly. So, opponent's on Pot of Prosperity, which I'm also dubious on in Sprights. I think a lot of people are just playing this because the OCG builds played it, but I don't think it's good. Especially like getting rid of even 3 out of the extra deck feels, I don't know. This is one of those extra decks where like when building the deck you really need all 15 slots, so you notice I didn't Ash Boss on the Prosperity either. It was actually because my opponent went for 3. That's kind of my rule of thumb with Prosperity. On turn 1, if my opponent leads with Prosperity, if they banish 3, I'll let it resolve. But if they banish 6, I'm definitely more inclined to Ash Blossom that. Because 1, it means they're probably on a stun deck, or they're more likely to be on a more stun or control-based deck. It wasn't the case here, but is more likely if they banish 6. So in that regard, they're less likely to have other things I want to Ash Blossom. And also, you know, by excavating 6, they get to look a lot deeper into their deck, and it's going to be a lot more likely they're going to find like their missing piece they need for their hand. So, but yeah, I'm going to let that Prosperity resolve. I'll just Ash Blossom the starter they end up picking up off of it as well. I'll never get over that Ash laugh. I really like that. So, I'm just going to swap Frog here because they had... Looks like they had Atlantean Heavy Infantry, which was... They're playing the Deep Sea Diva engine, and this was just their random level 2 of choice, which, like, I get the appeal of wanting to play a level 2 monster in case you draw it, but, like, to me, Yamataka Orochi is, like, the whole reason you would ever want to play Diva. Like, at this rate, you might as well just play the Nimble engine, or, at this rate, honestly, you might as well just play the Dark Beckoning Beast engine. Again, I think if you're just going to play Diva and then, like, a random level 2 Sea Serpent, it should definitely just be one of those other 2 engines instead. So they do have plays for a Gigantic Spright here, but it definitely did cost them. You see, they had to use their Maxx in order to make those plays. But, again, they do have plays now. Yeah, Jet is going to add Smashers here because they already use Starters, so we do have that to consider. And then they're going to get to Elf for their... Wait, they didn't go for Swap Frog. That's right, they didn't go for Swap Frog here. I have no idea why they didn't make Swap Frog. They just denied themselves a Ronintoadin body out of the graveyard. But, I mean, whatever. We'll definitely take that. So, we know this is a Spright Smashers here. Doesn't look like they have Red or Carrot to get back with Elf, but I'll throw out Imperm during the draw phase anyway. Because, like, I don't know. There was an argument to... Well, I couldn't have negated the IP. That's right. I wanted to negate the IP, but, of course, it's in a zone and being protected by Elf, so I had to negate the Elf. That's right. That's right. But even though we have to deal with Smashers and Knightmare Unicorn here, it's looking like we have enough gas in our hand to actually be able to do that. So they actually went for Appaloosa here instead of the Knightmare Unicorn, which, if they'd gone for Knightmare Unicorn, that's the thing, right? I would have had to have specialed Swap Frog, but then they could have smashed away the Swap Frog. Then I would have been, like, done on plays for that turn. So, yeah, I don't know. They definitely, I think, should have gone for the Knightmare Unicorn here. This is actually going to be kind of an illustration of why I don't think Appaloosa is a great target to go into with IP right now. They let the Swap Frog effect resolve, but they're gonna, I think, end up negating... Oh, they do negate Ronin, but actually with Ghost Belle and not Appaloosa. I'm basically just beating out this Appaloosa right now. I'm just gonna try to force them to activate the effect, and that way it'll be enough attack where my monsters can run over it. So going for the Elf, and oh yeah, the Smashers, of course. We also have to bait out the Spright Smashers here. Doing it with Elf is nice, because then we get to bait out the Appaloosa negation as well. Because otherwise, you know, Spright Elf still resolves if they don't negate it with Appaloosa. Alright, so now, finally, my opponent's at a stage where I can just get rid of their Apple. And now I get to bring back Ronintoadin. Now I can make Gigantic Spright. And yeah, the opponent didn't have anything on board in our hands, so just we're able to grind them out of resources and then take the duel from there. So... Alright, there is that one. We have one more game to take a look at. Let's dive straight into it. Alright, for our final duel, we're up against Exosister Magistus. So, that's going to be interesting. I've actually come across quite a few Exosisters. They can be pretty annoying. They actually have some pretty decent disruption against this deck. But we opened Triple Tactics Talent, so I'm feeling pretty good. As always, like just whenever I open this card, I'm already feeling like really good about the duel. Gonna start with the Dark Beckoning Beast line here. Gonna throw out a Spright Carrot as well before I overlay both of the Beckoning Beasts into the Gigantic Spright. Gonna activate the effect. Opponents actually got the Imperm here, which is annoying because I can't use Carrot. Because even if I stack the Gigantic Spright, of course I don't have a material to detach, and then Gigantic Spright won't resolve. So I thought I was just going to set 2 and pass here. That's why I set 2 and then made plays, but I realized after setting 2, like, wait a second, I actually can do better than just sending on Gigantic Spright plus Carrot. I'm going to use my Elf in order to bring back the Carrot. Well, I'm going to go into Elf and then use that to bring back the Carrot. And I know I said I was glad to draw that Triple Tactics talent, but here, I'm going to use that as an extender to go into IP, because I'd definitely rather have the IP going into my opponent's turn than the talents going into my next turn. Plus, we still have the negation of Imperm and the disruption of Smashers here as well, so... I'm going to go to bring back the Carrot with the Elf, but my opponent's got a called by. That's fine. It's a little annoying, but it's not the end of the world or anything. And the opponent actually didn't have any more live plays after that. I was definitely ready to, you know, obviously negate stuff with the Imperm here. But it looks like that was because my opponent had Vadis and the Returnia, and did not have, like, Pax or another Exosister with the Stella here. So, my opponent will still get plays. They're just going to do it on my turn instead. Going to Imperm this Mekk-Knight so that way it doesn't banish my IP Masquerena. Nice thing too is that because I Impermed it, I'm also not restricted anymore. Huh, no, never mind. I thought this card had a restriction where I couldn't summon stuff out of the graveyard or something, but... Oh, it can't be destroyed by battle with a monster summoned out of the graveyard. That's what it was. Anyway, I knew my opponent was going to try to use Sophia's effect when I brought back the Dark Beckoning Beast, so it was nice to be able to just banish it, because it does have to be on the field to Xyz summon, so they don't just get the Xyz monster and not put it on as a material. Alright, at this stage now I've got the Gigantic Spright. It's big enough to run over the Mekk-Knight, and I was actually going to go for a Cat Shark win here, which I was kind of excited about, but the opponent conceded before I got to summon my kitty, so womp womp, but I mean, whatever, it's a concede, we'll definitely take it. So there are those games. As always as ever, I want to thank you. I'm going into the outro. We already have that recorded. I still want to do that sometimes in my brain. I don't know, I just have that instinct, I guess, but let's go to our pre-recorded outro. Alright everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the very end of the video like this. That means a whole lot to me. Not just personally, but it's also a great way of supporting the channel as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other means, you can of course feel free to comment and or subscribe right here on YouTube. I'm always looking to the comments section. You guys leave some pretty awesome feedback as far as like constructive criticism goes when it comes to deck building, gameplay, channel content, all that stuff. So feel free to leave your opinion down there. I will be sure to take a look at that there. And then subscribing is going to be the best way to get notifications of when these videos drop. That does happen every day, by the way, so if you're looking for daily Master Duel content, you've come to the right place. And there are more places where you can get some daily Master Duel content. If you check out the description below, follow the top link over to my Patreon page. There for just $5 a month, which is as much as you pay for a booster pack, you'll find a lot more value than a pack full of filler over there. We've got some previews for content upcoming here on the channel. We've got some exclusive games that are only posted over on Patreon over there. We've got some Q&As, and then you can also have your name featured in this lovely credit sequence where I thank all of the people who are helping contribute over there on Patreon. It's a huge support to the channel, and it really means a lot as well. So thank you everyone who is donating that is featured here on screen. And again, you know, it's not just a pure donation, you do get some more daily Master Duel content over there just for being a part of the Patreon. But I think that's about all the time that I have for today's video. Once again, I just want to thank you so very much for sticking all the way to the end of the video. Again, it just means a lot as I do put a decent amount of work into getting these videos out every single day. But that's about all the time that I've got for now. So without further ado, this is Hexlex. I'm signing out, and I hope you have a fantastic day.